Hey everyone, and welcome to On the Margins. MPK, how you doing?
What's up? I was about to go do a little dance, but then I was like, I'm on video, so let's just not just embarrass myself too much in the early part of 25. It's too early. But good to see you.
I love the music though. I mean, I was kind of dancing. So for everyone who doesn't know, my name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, and now hosting On the Margins with Coupa. MPK, over to you. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Yeah, no, it's great to see everyone, and always good to see you, Sarah, as well. My name is Michael van Keulen. I am the CPO here at Coupa. I've been here for 5 years. I've been in procurement supply chain for over 20. Yeah, and I just love the show. I just can't get excited enough about it. And let's get into the conversation. I love it.
Yeah, so whoever's watching, we want to know where you're watching from. So make sure to put those in the comments. If you've got questions anytime during the show, make sure to put that in the comments as well. But one question that I think I ask you every single episode is, where in the world is MVK right now? Yes. I mean, I believe you were in Brazil during the holidays. I don't know if you've traveled since then. Where in the world are you today?
Yeah, no, I actually was reading or looking at Where's Waldo last night with my daughter in bed. It's a true story. And it actually reminded myself, I said to my daughter, she's 7, she's, kind of starting to get to understand what dad does. And I said, sometimes people wonder where I am in the world. And she was kind of looking at me like, what are you talking about? You're right next to me in bed. So anyway, I am in the south of Portugal where I live with the wife and the 3 kids. And but yeah, I mean, the holiday season was amazing. We went to Brazil. My wife is Brazilian. And so we took the kids there. We went to Florianopolis, had a chance to meet some of my fellow Coupanians while I was there. Cool. And celebrating Christmas and New Year's, and especially New Year's on the beach, with a ton of Brazilians who are some of the most fun people you'll ever meet, with thousands of people on the beach, with caipirinha in my hand and opening up champagne at midnight in the dark with fireworks was an interesting experience. Let's leave it with that. It was good fun. How about yourself? You had a good holiday season?
I did. I just stayed local. I stayed at home because we've got a huge travel year, a huge year. We're going to be moving soon. So I tried to rest and not do very much. But travel for me starts next week, with Florida. Then we go to New York City, and then I'm in Vegas as well. And that's just sort of the tip of the iceberg, which I'm sure is coming up for you as well. But we've got a very cool show happening today. We've got Anne-Marie from Bottomline coming on to talk about how procurement can sometimes be overlooked. Why are we talking about this topic today, MVK?
Yeah, because I think, we still have a reputation problem. And we talk about it all the time, right? I mean, when you think about procurement, most people think about us as the ones that cut the budget and the ones that are cutting costs and are maybe not necessarily really caring a whole lot about what our stakeholders want and need. And we're just so focused on the price. And I've always said, and I'll say it again, it's like, price is what you pay and value is what you get. And we really need to change that mindset. And it's a PR problem. And we own that. Like, we own the messaging of how we procure and how we position the profession that we love. And I think the biggest misconception, or at least the biggest thing that we need to start doing is really talk about how do we optimize value and stop letting us be put down into like this cost cutting. No, we're here to accelerate objectives and to drive more value and to help achieve our strategic objectives. I mean, that's our goal, and continuity is part of that, and risk. And but yeah, I mean, that's why we're here, and really thought it'd be a great topic to talk about is how do we overcome some of these misconceptions and how do we finally get the right talk track and fix our PR problem. And we can own that. It's storytelling.
Yeah, I think some of the misconceptions, right? It's like a buyer is like going shopping, but it's so much more than that, right? It's the beginning of sustainability. Projects and negotiation is part of that as well. There's so much strategic value to procurement professionals, buyers, right? There's so many different names, I think, that we can use as well for procurement. Go ahead.
No, I said 100% agreed, and I don't really like the word procurement, to be completely honest, because it's so tainted. But then the question is, what should be? I want to be the chief value officer. That's what I want to be. I want to be the value orchestrator. I want to be the one that is right at the center of every company. Yes, we are an outcome can be saving money. That's fine. It's not my objective, and I've said this many times. But we need to be considered value drivers and creators of something that didn't exist before. That's what procurement really is. And this word procurement has just been so tainted to what you just said. We're like, people think we're buyers. Oh, you buy a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's one of the things that we do, right?
Just one of the things. But also from a strategic standpoint, I think it's really important that we talk about this, is how vital it is to be a collaborator. Like, I talk about collaboration being the future of business, but for a procurement professional, collaborating, partnering with your suppliers, it's not just about cost savings, right? It's about collaborating on initiatives. It's about being creative and innovative to bring some of those initiatives together. What can they do? What can you do? How can you partner? It's also about being proactive, right? You also need to be able to adapt quickly to gain competitive advantage. If you don't do that as a procurement professional or a procurement team, you're going to be left behind. So there's so many things that I think, really make up a good procurement organization, team, professional, and things that they have to think about that we don't actually realize and maybe even recognize as much as we should.
Yeah, no, I mean, the biggest innovation that you can drive is not within your own four walls, right? I mean, that's one element, but the biggest innovation that I've driven in my career, and I've been, with retailers for a long time, is the biggest innovation we drove was through the suppliers. I mean, you have the right relationship with your suppliers. They will bring you ideas. They will bring you newness. They will bring you new solutions to serve your consumers. In my case, often in my career before I came to Coupa, that we otherwise would have never had. Biggest example I can give you really quickly, because it's such a great example, is everyone that understands and knows what third-party gift cards are. So if you go to like a Walgreens and you see that whole wall with all these gift cards from all these different retailers, my prior employer, Lululemon, was not there. And my gift card supplier started to ask me the question, why are you not there? And my answer was, well, we don't want to be there because we are vertically integrated. You can only buy Lululemon at Lululemon. And we just don't want to be in a Walgreens or in a Safeway or, and the challenge was like, why would you not want to be there? Long story short, we ultimately got there, and the revenue that it generated and the new customers that it would bring to your stores, it was absolutely, it generated hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. It's a true story. It came from my supplier. We would have never thought about it.
Right.
And I know I'm being on the record, on the air, which is completely fine. And it's just one of the elements that we did. I mean, we did gift boxes with suppliers that we thought we couldn't afford. I mean, I'm just, your suppliers bring things and ideas that maybe you sometimes don't think about yourself. That's the point.
Yeah, I love that story. And on that note, it's time to bring up Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's great to meet everybody here. I'm doing super today.
Awesome.
How about you? Nice to see you again, MVK.
Yeah, good to see you, Anne-Marie. It's great to see you always. I always enjoy your point of view, and so excited that you could join us here. Of course, as a start, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and your career, but also talk about Bottomline and all the great stuff that you guys do as a starting point.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Anne-Marie McCarthy. I am the CPO at Bottomline. I have been, like yourself, MVK, in procurement for about 20 years now, in a number of different areas. So everything from retail to pharma to, big financial institution and technology. I'm as passionate about it today as I have been. I've been at Bottomline for about 4.5 years now, and we are a financial tech company, so we're really kind of transforming the way that businesses pay and get paid. We have a fantastic relationship with Coupa as a strategic partner of ours as well. So, that's, kind of an interesting story in itself as far as how that kind of came to pass, which I'm happy to go into if you'd like me to expand on, unless you have another question.
No, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I started at Bottomline, I had been a long time customer of Coupa in my past lives, and it was a solution that I wanted to bring on. We didn't have a great procure to pay solution at the time. And our then CEO, Rob Everly, who I absolutely loved, was a great guy, was like, hey, they're kind of in the, competitor space. And I don't really think that, we should be doing that. How would the street, react to that? Because we were public at the time. And I said, well, look, it's just a great tool. And I think that, there's more value that we can add with that. We kind of play in some of the same areas. And so through that kind of collaboration and discussion, as we were going through negotiations and through some of the storytelling that you were talking about earlier, I had reached out to this guy, Tom Dolan, who works here and, is really charging, pay mode as one of our premier products. And we got to talking and he said, oh my God, I would love to have a strategic partnership with Coupa. So, I was able to really be a bridge and an accelerator through wanting to buy the solution and be a customer, but then also talk about like, how could we partner together more strategically so that both of our businesses, were able to benefit from that partnership. And I think that those are areas a lot of times that go unnoticed for procurement, that we can be a bridge to revenue as well as somebody that's, focused on risk and cost, expense management and things of that nature.
Yeah, no, it's a great example of exactly. That's a great example of where procurement drives more value, right? I mean, it's we now have almost, I think, 40 combined customers where we have the platform and we help the end-to-end process. Where on the pay side, that's where Bottomline comes in and finishes the transaction, if you will, through the ACH in one closed process and one closed platform that just brings so much benefits to our community and our community of customers. So it's a great example of actually where you actually started a partnership that now generates top line impact to Bottomline, and of course it supports our community of customers as well. So that's a great story.
It is. I think we've got actually another 20 or 30 ready to come online, and some in the pipe as well. So it's been really successful for us. And Bottomline, like Coupa, our customers are at the absolute center and heart of everything that we do. And, looking for that innovation and that ability to, be able to propel the business forward is something that procurement absolutely can have a hand in.
Well, 100%. Who knew that we were going to talk about how procurement is a revenue driver for a company instead of just looking for some of those cost savings? That's definitely, something that's overlooked and a bit of a misconception. Let's talk about some of the other areas of procurement that you think are often overlooked, but maybe add a ton of value outside of that example. Do you have any more that you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. So, it's hard to pin it down to just one, but I'm going to take you back to the financial crisis. And this is going to seem kind of unorthodox, but I was working for Iron Mountain at the time, 2008, 2009. And, as everybody knows, it's like the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. And we had two key initiatives going on at that time. Procurement transformation was one of them, and everything that you would expect in that. We're looking at supplier consolidation and extracting more value and clean sheeting and all of those other things. But we also had a pricing excellence initiative that was going on at that time. And as we were working through procurement transformation, one of the directors in sales had actually, come to me and said, hey, do you mind if I could sit down and just kind of talk to you for a couple of minutes? Because, we've got this price increase as a result of this initiative that we did. We've got to raise prices by like 15% because we're just not right size, and the business has to stay healthy. And we're really getting our behinds kicked, when we're trying to sell these price increases, especially to procurement organizations. We just don't know how to talk and interact with them. And so I said, sure, happy to help you with that. Let's grab some coffee and you can tell me how you're approaching this. And what we got to is we sat and talked about it. I was like, okay, I'm your procurement person. Tell me why you're giving me a price increase. And he would start, with kind of like, well, we need to raise prices because, and there would be this, answer that I was like, there's no data behind this. There's no real story behind this. And so I would just, shut him down, and he would turn red. And then I'd look at him and I'd say, would you like to know how you should answer that question? And he said, yes. So we really talked about, you've got to be able to talk about value. You have to be able to talk about the value that the company's offering. You have to be able to justify the price increases with data. Procurement people are highly analytical. We're going to eviscerate you with data if you don't have data available. And you've got to be able to craft a story and objection handle in a way that makes sense to us, because we're looking for the value that we're getting out of the relationship. And so we spent like a month, he and I, twice a week, just kind of talking through he would come up with another, type of, approach, and we would work through it until it was really something that was well crafted. And then we did this training for the rest of the sales organization to talk about why is it so important to have a relationship with procurement, and how do they partner within the organization, and how are you going to actually be able to story tell these things, so that they stopped avoiding procurement and they started working with procurement, and it really changed the dynamic of the relationship. We also started talking about pricing strategies, right? So how are you formulating your pricing strategy, and have you talked to procurement? Because we're huge, proponents of being able to understand what's going on in the marketplace and be able to help our own organization understand those dynamics, so that we can help drive revenue within the company in a more meaningful way, and that we can be really tied to the success of the company through our experience and the things that we see in the marketplace.
Those are such great points. And a lot of collaboration does come not only externally, but also internally. And how do we get together with procurement on a variety of different ways? And like you said, to craft the story to help sales, to help marketing, we really need to do a lot more internal collaboration. I just want to give a quick shout out to Angelica over on my personal LinkedIn, and Bayram, who is tuning in on YouTube. MVK, I think you have a question for Anne-Marie.
Yeah, it's great. We can probably talk for hours, but we don't have the time, unfortunately. But what are some of these common challenges and opportunities for procurement in these cost of goods sold kind of related partnerships? And how have you effectively navigated that? And any scars along the way as well?
Yeah, well, the scars are always that you get shown the door, when you show up, like, hey, thanks, but I don't really need your services. I've got this. And so a lot of it, becomes with being able to demonstrate that you have a different approach and you have a different take on that. And so partnerships and, like OEM type of like embedded agreements and things of that nature, typically procurement has not been invited into a lot of those conversations. There's either places in the organization that have like strategic alliances, or a group that's the product team, is because the product team, there's like, hey, there's revenue on the other end, so customers paying for it, so they don't normally think about procurement. But what I've found through my experience is that a lot of times those contracts we're contemplated as the end consumer. And when you're contemplated as the end consumer, you've got an OEM saying, hey, I'm going to sell you 1,000 licenses and you're going to pay me for 1,000 licenses. But they're not thinking about the fact that, well, hey, you're an embedded component, and then I have to develop this, I have to market this, I have to monetize it, I have to sell it, I have to commission against it. So don't treat me like an end consumer in this negotiation, because I'm not. And you're asking me for, committed revenue and annual ARR for a solution that I haven't even sold and brought to market yet. And it can't be structured that way. So what I found is, like, in talking to our CRO or the CPOs, and to say, like, hey, I think that I can help. And as we're thinking through this, let me talk to you about some of the more salient points that we should be thinking about, like price increases further on down the line. Are our contracts aligned with our customer contracts? Are we going to erode margin? Do we have pricing caps? Do we have, development time built in? Do we have all of those things? Have we contemplated that? And, when I was working for Kronos, it was a huge impact to a deal that we were doing to try and improve our reporting capabilities. We were looking to partner with an analytics partner, and I got told at that time, like, hey, somebody before you was negotiating it. They couldn't get it less than $1 million. They've tabled it as a result, and so, we're not going to move forward with it. And I sat with our senior director of product, and I said, let's take a different approach. Take the price off the table. Let's talk about what's the solution have to look like? What type of customers do we have? How many customers? Do they have different profiles? Will they pay different prices? What do we need for margins? When are we going to be able to monetize this? How much development time? And so as we went through that and kind of did more of a should be cost and what the value this contract was to us to be able to help sell it, $1 million pay me now contract turned into a $10,000 investment, and over 3 years, a projection that will pay you $300,000. And that's how we structured the contract. So it was
Wow.
just a big, huge differentiator in helping them think through and collaborating with them in a way to say, I can add more value than just somebody that's buying something. You're thinking about, hey, I want to pay 200 and you're telling me I should pay 150. And that's so much, we're so much more than that as far as value creation.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I actually just heard you talk about clean sheets, and
Yeah.
for those of the listeners that don't know what that is,
Yeah.
I mean, please reach out to either Anne-Marie or myself, because but that is also best-in-class procurement. I mean, the things you're describing, now you're talking to a level of maturity in procurement that is, 3+ out of 4, if it's not 4 already, where you really are so embedded in the business and you're being brought in at the right time, and you're being part of ideation, and I really love those examples. It's really, really powerful. Sarah, go ahead.
No, I wanted to just bring to light some of the questions that you're asking. And I think that is a moment to sort of pause and reflect on some of the questions that you're bringing to the table. You're pushing your internal teams. You're pushing your suppliers in a variety of different ways by asking the right questions and having them think about things differently. Sometimes we're only looking at the bottom line, and it's like, if I have to pay 200,000 or 150,000, I'm good because I've saved 50,000, but that's just not the full story. And I go back to what you were talking about around having the full story, but to get there, you have to ask the right questions. And so I just wanted to ask you, when you think about the larger business or organization, when you think about the C-suite, right? You've talked about internal, collaborating with internal stakeholders. But when we think about the C-suite and we think about the role that procurement plays providing the strategic solutions, how do you see that in the larger business, and how do you see that collaboration from procurement with the C-suite and those conversations?
Yeah, so I think MVK was right when he said a lot of times, procurement has a reputation problem in that people don't see us in that light, right? And so you really have to kind of do your procurement roadshow and talk about the experiences that you've had in the past and say, let me tell you what I think I can help do for you and what I've done in the past. And are you open to that? Who on your team can I talk to as we're thinking through this? Can I just take a couple of looks at your contracts and maybe show you where some holes might exist, right? So I hate to say that, for procurement, you should always be thinking that you're from Missouri and the show me state. But, there is a certain extent of that's true, right? It's a show me. And so you have to go into it with that mindset. But it's like anything else. Our relationships, the ones that we form, both internally and externally, they are the most critical part to everything that we do. Because I've had people that have told me in the past, and MVK, I'm sure you have too, like, I think I negotiate great deals myself, and I'm not going to use you.
Oh yeah.
And turning those somewhat adversarial positions into advocates, where people say, I'm not going into that negotiation room without procurement. Sometimes I've literally said to people like, okay, that's fair, right? You think that I can't do a better job than you. Give me 1 or 2 deals that you think you've got done before you sign on the dotted line, and give them to me. And if I can't get a better deal for you than you can get for yourself, I'll go focus on another area of the business for you. But inevitably, because we think differently, we live, eat, and breathe contract, risk, value, all of those things. And we look to thread out value where they may not even think about it. Hey, I'm going to get you training hours. I'm going to get you, pricing caps. I'm going to get you professional services investment. There's, hey, there's a B2B relationship here that we can expound upon and expand upon. those are the things that they don't necessarily think about that we get to demonstrate. And in those spaces, in those discussions is where I've found that you can turn somebody truly into an advocate where they look at you as a true strategic business partner. And that's the end goal, right? That's where we all want to be.
Yeah. And so I think it's important from what you said is to have a voice in those rooms at the table and not be afraid to ask those questions. I
Yes.
think that's, you know, super important. MBK?
Yeah, no, yeah, you have to get uncomfortable. As a CPO, as a procurement person, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be okay with maybe not necessarily having all the answers and being the smartest person in the room, but by asking the right questions, as you drive to better business outcomes. That's what we should be focused on. But you have to get uncomfortable. I don't know, and I never portray that I understand every single element of the company that I'm the CPO for, including the company I work for today. In fact, I'd be the complete opposite. I'm a generalist, I always say. Yeah. However, we do have a certain mindset, and we bring a certain, we're not in the weeds, we're not in that functional area. And so we definitely think about things very, very differently. So I really love that. Look, Anne-Marie, we can again talk for hours, but I did have one more question for you.
Sure.
Before we let you go, what is the one thing? I mean, you talked about a bunch of different things around value but if there is one thing that you would want to leave the audience with and procurement with, that they can start doing today to bring the kind of value that you talked about, what is the one thing that you would encourage people to do, and what would be the first step?
So I think the one thing that people could do today, it goes back to those relationships and getting uncomfortable. Like, try and nose your way in the door. Like, have that discussion to say, hey, procurement is here. Our mission is to help the business succeed, and I can't do anything without you as a subject matter expert to help me get there, right? So it's having those discussions, being comfortable having them at a higher level. And I think that most people in the organization, no matter what company you go into, right, we all want to do the best for the company. We all want to see the company succeed. So let me be a part of that, use my strengths and the things that I'm good at to help you expand and get the outcomes that you're looking for. And I think that, it's incredibly important that you be able to storytell, practice it, run conversations by other people, start someplace where you're able to talk about and create some type of value message and use an experience that you've had in the past to help drive home that point. So again, like, it's all about relationships, communication, and getting in front of the right people to help you really move the procurement organization forward.
Yeah. And bridging that gap, right? Like you said, not coming to the table adversarial, but bridging the gap to make sure they see the value and that the questions that you're asking will lead to a much better outcome potentially.
Yeah, and then you have to execute, right? It's great to have the conversations, but if you can't, if you're not executing against it, it's that's not going to go over well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Anne-Marie, thank you so much for all of your insights today. We really appreciate you for joining us, but it is trivia time. So everybody get ready because we're going to be asking you a question in just a second. I always love that. Your team
comes up like a host. I was like, oh, it's so crazy. Go ahead.
Your team comes up with some of the best things. All right. So the question that we have for everybody, what is one area of procurement discussed today that often gets overlooked? So A is facilitating purchases from outside suppliers, B, embedded solutions with product partners and COGs-related partnerships, C, direct procurement, and D, cost savings. Well, I already know there's a couple on that list that I am like, stay away from because that's not what procurement is all about. What do you think of that list, MVK?
Yeah, it's a good list. It's a good list. I mean, but there are some areas that it's like, let's just stay away from that.
Well, definitely put your answer in the comments. We have a pickleball set ready to send to somebody who is the quickest person to answer the correct answer in the comments. So definitely do that right now so you can win the pickleball set, because I am just about to announce the correct answer because we are about to end the show. So the correct answer is B. So B is embedded solutions with product partners and COGs-related partnerships. Now, thanks so much to everybody for joining us. Thank you to Anne-Marie. Go and learn more about Bottomline at bottomline.com. MVK, I'm going to be seeing you at Inspire. I think we've got some cool things coming up.
I think we're going to see each other at Manifest. No, are you going to be at
Oh, we're
Manifest?
going to see each other at Manifest first, yeah. And then we're going to see... Yeah, and then we're going to see each other at Inspire. I think we might do a meet the host and all sorts of stuff. So I think that's going to be fun. But of course, save the date and join us next month on February 26th as we explore transformation and change management with a very special guest from the Coupa community. MVK, I can't wait till next time. Thanks so much.
Me neither. See you soon. Thanks, everybody.